In ancient times, in ages so distant that they cannot be counted, when the sun rose upon nations now forgotten and set upon peoples whose places are unknown, an ancient name was etched upon the brow of time, a sign of a boundless army to whom the earth yielded. By the command of the Creator, the means were made ready for him to reach the east and the farthest west. He was known at times as the just king who ruled the world and all it contained, and at other times as the great traveler who traversed its surface and strove. In every mention of him, a majestic phantom from ancient history looms about journeys that drew the borders of the world and bore witness to wisdom granted by the merciful as a gift. Yet, Dhul Qarnayn has a story in the north that has not been told. The earliest scriptures recorded his great journeys from reaching the setting place of the sun in a murky spring where sight fails, to reaching its rising place upon people who had no shelter from it, and others behind a barrier who could not understand words or see. But does his tale end at this known limit? Or is there a faint whisper in the narrative? From the farthest north, where breath freezes and the frost endures, does the man who reached the ends of the earth, east and west, have a story with the people of eternal ice, who made the glaciers their home and the stars their guide? In white expanses where the line between day and night fades, live the children of snow, the Eskimo guardians of the ancient secrets about the sky's specters and the gateways of the hollow earth. Between truth and myth, an old whisper emerges at the meeting point of light and darkness about a traveler who once walked to them. Known as the King of Time, what is the truth of the Eskimo people? Did the paths of Dhul Qarnayn ever cross theirs? Did he leave a trace of his knowledge or pass to them a buried secret about the earth's nature and its mysteries? What did he find in those frozen lands? Were they the edge of the earth or the beginning of a new world? What is the great secret he erected between the two worlds? Was it merely a barrier to block Gog and Magog, or a partition between different realms where distances collapse and dimensions merge? What is the link between the Eskimo and ancient prophecies lost from the books of the frozen land, prophecies that hint at another world, one that Dhul Qarnayn entered and left behind only a misty trace in the memory of tales? In a journey into the depths of the unknown and the dawn of the first time, we search within history and the cold of the north for a people rarely mentioned by researchers, a people whose home was the Arctic and whose very existence is a riddle. This is the story of Dhul Qarnayn's journey to the land of the north, tale of the ice guardians and the first secrets. In a previous documentary, we introduced the figure of Dhul Qarnayn and who he was according to religious and historical texts. In this documentary, we will dive into the Arctic and the Ainu people in a story told for the first time from within the white silence stretched across eternal ice. The Inuit people known today as Eskimos weave a history and unique culture. Their ancestors, the Thule people, crossed the Bering Strait and western Alaska over 1,000 years ago, separating from ancient groups called the Aleuts, who also have a mysterious story we will uncover later. They then spread east across the Arctic land, or what is now known as the North Pole, bringing with them survival skills and a culture rooted like a memory lost to time, but preserved in the hearts of descendants. The land of the North Arctic was never just an icy pile. It consists of 4 great islands surrounding Mount Shumizan Momiru, which early texts and maps refer to as Rups Nigra, the black rock, which attracts compasses from anywhere on Earth and causes them to malfunction nearby. There, the 4 sea currents vanish at a point still unknown. The Inuit people, rooted in the Thule lineage, trace their origins to a much older civilization known as the Dorset culture, Shumisan's first civilization on the 4 northern islands, called Tunit in their oral traditions. Old Inuit documents describe the Tunit as giants taller and stronger than the Inuit, civilized and advanced, yet peaceful. It is said that a single Tunit man could carry a seal weighing 1,000 pounds or pull a whole walrus. Despite their strength, They allowed migrant peoples to settle in the best hunting areas without conflict. The Tunit mysteriously vanished after most records were destroyed 1,000 years ago. Their civilization was attributed to an unknown people, leaving behind a mystery and finely carved artifacts. One ancient tale still told by winter fires speaks of an Inuit hunter named Kalunka, who went to hunt seals near the edge of the ice shelf. There, he saw an enormous sled larger than any known kayak, decorated with unfamiliar symbols and carvings. Then he saw behind the cliff a giant man holding a long spear whose tip glowed with a faint blue light. He wasn't hostile. Instead, he pointed to the sky, then walked toward the sea. Kalunka said he was trying to tell me something when he returned and told his people. Their leader said what Kalunka saw was one of the Tunit from the ancient world. Anthropologists believe the Thule people, ancestors of the current Inuit, indeed followed a civilization that came before them, possibly the Tunit. Archaeological evidence includes copper tools and unusual alloys that don't match the simple hunting tools known in the region, along with different boat designs and, more importantly, skeletal remains indicating tall individuals and copper spears. The Inuit say these spears emitted fiery light toward the sky. Some metaphysical theories suggest the Tunit did not vanish, but returned to their original land around Mount Shumizen, hinting at a civilization buried beneath the ice. The persistence of this memory in Inuit storytelling keeps the tale alive, not just a legend, but a symbol of human mystery, of the yearning and fear of understanding the unknown, and of a civilization lost beneath the snow, born in realms we do not yet comprehend. The story of the Dorset civilization, which preceded the Thule ancestors of the Inuit, shows how oral traditions can record and preserve encounters with unknown groups, those never written in books. This opens the door to questioning whether encoded memories exist of visitors from the ancient era. Many researchers today acknowledge strange traces in the northern land of the Arctic, where advanced civilizations once lived. To understand the coming historical sequence in this documentary, we must focus on properly analyzing the history of the Inuit people. The Thule ancestors appeared in the Arctic about 1,000 years ago, after overtaking the Tunit civilization. A lesser-known fact, the German leader Hitler was a member of the Thule society due to a secret archive that mentions lands beyond the first Earth lands belonging to the Thule people, ancestors of the modern Inuit. But the Thule did not create a new civilization. They stood on the ruins of the lost Dorset culture 2,500 years ago, which we referred to as the Tunit. Yet even the Dorset culture rose upon an even older, unknown civilization over 4,000 years ago. Researchers in Forbidden History now assert that an advanced polar civilization once thrived in the Arctic land of the 4 northern islands. The Greeks referred to it as Hyperborea, the sacred northern land where aging does not reach. Inuit legends speak of peoples who live underground or in icy tunnels and avoid appearing to humans. They also tell of flying beings that pass with metallic, song-like sounds and vanish without a trace. Historical archives confirm that civilizations predated the Inuit, even before the Thule and Tunit, dating back over 4,000 years, hinting at lost technologies or a buried world. In the ancient imagination, the North was the greatest unknown, mysterious, inaccessible, guarded by the terrifying sea of darkness, and wrapped in sailors' legends. One of the oldest documented voyages to these extremes was by the Greek navigator Pytheas of Massalia, modern Marseille, around 3303 to 0 BC. Using a navigational tool called the gnomon, a type of sundial, he sailed north and reached an island he named Thule, one of the 4 northern islands. But his journey ended there as he encountered what he called the lung of the sea, strange condition where earth, sea, and air blend, making movement impossible by foot or boat. This likely refers to the edge of Arctic sea ice, where muddy ice forms. His descriptions closely match today's geographical and historical realities, suggesting only an advanced civilization could cross such a place. To this day, the land remains largely undiscovered. Even with today's technology, reaching its edges requires immense knowledge and power, just as God said about Dhul Qarnayn. We gave him from everything he means, so he followed a way. Pythias' journey proves the ancient belief in northern extremes and natural barriers existed after Dhul Qarnayn's time. Greek texts written millennia ago spoke of a traveler who journeyed east and west beyond the Sea of Darkness. Al-Masudi mentioned many unknown voyages and peoples in his book Akbar al-Zaman. But it was the Greek archives that first drove Alexander the Great to launch long expeditions to the earth's ends, most notably his journey north, in search of the mythical water of life. The land of darkness was described as a region of utter darkness at the northernmost edge, near the pole. This aligns geographically with the polar night months without sun, followed by months of constant light. Some falsely claim Alexander the Great was Dhul Qarnayn, but that is incorrect, as Dhul Qarnayn was a monotheistic king, while Alexander was a pagan. In various versions of the Far Lands tales Syriac, Ethiopian, and Persian, there are descriptions of strange peoples and creatures, especially in the land of darkness. Al-Masudi recorded stories closer to myth than truth from unknown times. These tales overlap with Inuit and East Asian traditions, especially Tibet, in ways that resemble Dhul Qarnayn's story, though distorted by myth and imagination. To untangle these threads, we must return to the Quran. The story of Dhul Qarnayn begins in Surat al-Kahf. They ask you about Dhul Qarnayn. Say, I will relate to you something of his story. This indicates God revealed only part of his tale, showing his state and knowledge granted by God. The Quran describes how God empowered Dhul Qarnayn and gave him means for all things. It then details 3 journeys and his interactions with various peoples with justice, knowledge, and faith. He reached the setting place of the sun, where it sank in a murky spring, a place only reached by one given divine means. Yet he found a mysterious people there, judged among them, and moved on. Some scholars believe this place was a different realm, not bound by our physical laws, a world of unknown beings. The verse describes his shift from the west to the east, where he found the sun rising on people without cover. Interpretations vary, that they lived in open lands without mountains, trees, or homes, or that they were primitive and did not build shelters. But even primitive tribes take shelter in forests. The most plausible meaning, and God knows best, is that these were lands where the sun does not set for months like in the Arctic and Antarctic in summer. There, the night cannot shield from the sun. The depiction of his reaching the sunset and sunrise locations proves the vast extent of his role to Earth's furthest known edges. Some believe Dhul Qarnayn was Solomon, son of David, peace be upon them, but this cannot be confirmed or denied. God gave Dhul Qarnayn power, just as he gave Solomon. His journey from the west to the east is an extraordinary image of unknown lands and peoples. It reflects divine empowerment. Indeed, we established him upon the earth. But most people overlook the verse that says, after reaching the sunrise, he followed away until he reached the barrier between 2 mountains. In the next part, we will continue the journey and reveal what was between the 2 barriers, what God unveiled to him of the lands, to recount the rest of the story with the Eskimo and the great earth gates. To answer all the questions we posed at the beginning of the documentary, stay with us for the next part, full of mystery where, God willing, we will uncover new aspects of Dhul Qarnayn's story for the first time. The journey has just begun.